live. I am just getting my tripod set up properly. It's finicky today, and this might be the way you get me today. So we're going live in today's Essentially You group. Let me get that group set up, and I will be right with you. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get this finished here. You know, today's a great topic. It's your wake-up call, and I'm so excited to dive into this with you. So excited that I made this public. I don't normally do this. I don't normally make these episodes public. These are exclusive for my Essentially You Facebook group, my community, where I go live once a week. But I'm telling you, this information today is way too important. You are going to see so much passion come from me today. So let's get this party started. I am just going live here on Facebook in the Essentially You group. And I don't want to say this is lesson number, because there is no lesson number per se, okay? You just tap into it when you come across the information. You lean into it when you're ready. I said this to my middle daughter earlier this week. I said, you know, she was starting to complain about something, and I just said to her, I said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And she paused for a second and took it in. And I know she took it in. She knows she took it in. And that was enough. That was enough earlier this week in terms of feeling positive, good vibes. But I've got so much more for you today. All right. We are... I just want to make sure that we are live on Facebook. Hello, hello. Marion, let me know when you're here. Good morning, good morning. Just so I know you won't be able to stay with me the whole time, but you are going to love today's episode. Today's episode is, I'm so passionate to dive in. I am just making sure I have access to the group on my phone, so I can reply to any comments that come up during this live. So again, I'm a little late in connecting with everybody. I'd say 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and a little bit late. That happens. Life happens. Technology happens. You know, I can sit here and own it and be disappointed, or I can just sit back and appreciate it happens. Okay. How's the start of your day going? I want to hear from you. How do you live your best life so far today? Think about that. How have you lived your best life so far today? What did you do? So I did move this class. I moved this class with intention. I wanted to see how it would work a little bit later. And I'm not even sure if this is the right season. Saturdays at this time, for this time of year, maybe we need to move it to earlier, an earlier weekday, and we'll talk about that. I'm here. I'm just wanting you to know that this space is a space for you. This is something that's going to help you grow each week, part of this Essentially You group and coaching program. So you ready to get started today? Before we go too far, we talked earlier about how did you live your best life today? I went to Aquafit. It was a last minute decision. I went to Aquafit. I had plenty of time between sessions to come and sit down. I was literally just trying to get everything set up, because today's topic is so important that I decided to go live on YouTube at the same time. So that's where I got a little bit derailed. And I own this. I own this in a different way as of today. because today we are talking about your wake-up call, and you're gonna see me get so incredibly passionate. Okay, so I went to Aquafit. I love wearing dresses and skirts. You guys know this. Isn't it cute? It is a skirt for those that are catching the video component. It is, I don't know if you can see me properly on Facebook, but you might need to go to YouTube. But it's a polka dot skirt and a white t-shirt with my hair completely up and my lips red, and I feel so energetic. I feel so full of life. And speaking of life, of all times, my dog needs to come in. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. How weird is this? I am letting my dog in on a live. Whew. All right. Keeping it real, kids. Keeping it real. Here. What happens, right? Come on, girl. You know, we're see every day trying to keep things real. So let's go back to your question. How did you live your best life this morning? I personally invited fun into my life this morning. I invited fun into my life this morning. I invited singing into my life this morning. I invited conversation into my life this morning. All of these things made me feel good. All of these things were a bonus to moving my body in different ways and expelling energy, even meeting myself where I'm at. And in the past, this could have derailed me because maybe I could do better, but not anymore. We're talking about an amazing wake-up call, guys. Tomorrow's not promised. We live every day with the promise of tomorrow. And I don't mean for any means for today's episode to be morbid. That is certainly not my intention, and I am putting that out there right here, right now. Today's session has nothing to do with being morbid. Today is literally a wake-up call to life. You see, over the last 24 hours, I lost a friend of mine. She's a year older than me. As much as we have our own stories, as much as we're carrying on the weight that we carry with us day to day and the responsibilities, we are not promised tomorrow. She leaves behind a husband and 2 kids. She's a year older than me. I was with her. Years ago, she worked with me. And she was complaining about a sore back, and she knew something was wrong. She knew something was wrong. And that wasn't the way society dealt with it. But she knew in her soul that something was wrong. You fast forward so much further. Interesting. One of my cameras just flashed, and it was very, very interesting. It's almost like I can't describe it, but the whole thing flashed and went blurry in color, but only one did and not the other. So I remember when her back was starting to get sore. I remember when she was being kicked back from the doctors. I remember how hard she had to fight to get a diagnosis, to find out that she had terminal cancer because it was too late. Let today's episode be your wake-up call. I don't care what's going on in your life right now. We need to change your story. Tomorrow is not promised. So what are you doing today to step into today? If I was on my deathbed tomorrow, I would love to share the fact that I was talking to somebody at Aquafit today, and that I was singing and dancing, and I met my energy, and I learned a lot about myself. And I had fun first thing in the morning, and I made it work. right? That story is not going to be my story. My story is going to be completely different starting today. Okay, we've had various wake-up calls in our life, but when you lose somebody a year older than you, with a family and a life and people that love her and pets and a connection, let that be your wake-up call. So you ready to get started into today's session? Okay, so have a sip. Thank you for joining me whenever you get here. You know the deck that we use. It is, I better put my glasses on. It is the Self-Care Inspirational Card Deck and Guidebook. And who is it by? Guess we're gonna have to see on the inside. That's interesting. By Caitlin School. Caitlin School. She is the beautiful creator of this. Now we use this deck for the last 3 or 4 sessions, setting the stage and the intentions. You know, we already have the overall wake-up call. But let's put it all together and see what it means. Before I start shuffling this deck, when you have a minute, if you're driving, please don't close your eyes, but I really still want you to take a couple deep breaths, shoulders up, back, down, breathe out. Do another one. Up, 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 back, down. Welcome the breath. Welcome this space. Welcome to today's session, your wake-up call. Let's shuffle. Okay, I will see what message comes to our attention today, which one drops, what we're learning. We got a stack of them. Let's do it one more time. This one's stuck. It's not leaving my hand. Let's see what it says. You ready? Affirmation. There comes a point when we have to say, I'm here to love my life and to figure out who I am, not who you think I should be. What can you do today to be your authentic self? When you are your authentic self, you can't help but shine. You can't help but attract. You can't help but beam from the inside out. Let's see what this says. I love this. Wake up call and authentic. I love this as reminders for today. All right, let's see. Card number 16. All right. I had Hudson down here yesterday, and I think my glass table needs to be washed. All right. I need light. Picture a garden in front of you, full of lovely, unique flowers. Each one is a small piece of you. Begin to identify the parts. This is my intelligence. This is my will. This is my voice. This is my ambition. Today, choose one flower and one part of yourself to pick from your garden and to carry around throughout the day. Place it somewhere on your body that will remind you of this lovely part of yourself. How amazing is that? How breathtaking is that? I love that. External self-care. So the first one was internal. The second one right now is external. What role have you tended to play in most of your intimate relationships? Do you like to initiate interactions or shared activities, or are you more comfortable receiving bids for those things and deciding whether or not to participate? Do you tend to cheerlead or challenge your partners? How do you behave when conflict arises? Do you address it head on or try to circumvent discord by either ignoring or downplaying your partner's experience or your experience? What areas of relationships are the most alluring to you? Where do you receive or desire to receive the most pleasure, excitement, safety, or protection? Today, instead of finding the answers to all of those questions, your task is to simply take stock of your roles and tendencies and see what keeps coming up. What might these points of reception be telling you? Not about you in some generalized way, but about your deepest needs and your desires. Your deepest needs and your desires. I love that. This card is so in alignment. So the wake-up call we're talking about today is your life. What's it going to take for you to step into your best life? I just shared with you earlier today what my wake-up call is. You know, I just lost a friend of mine who I've drifted away from because I couldn't handle seeing her like that. As selfish as that is, she knows. We communicated about that. This is where my guilt is. I didn't want to remember her that way. And I know that's extremely selfish of me. Or is it? Is it just a boundary that I had to create? But at the end of the day, it's a wake-up call that no matter what is going on with your life, you can still find fun. And that fun comes with being your authentic self. As if you were every single flower in that garden. And every single flower was a positive quality about you. Every single one. And I could only imagine picking integrity, picking honesty, picking being authentic, picking owning my story and not apologizing for tripping over my words on a rainy day when normally I'd be laying down. For still showing up and doing my best. My story may have been different yesterday. But moving forward, I'm going to do the best that I can to live life every single day. It is not promised. So if picking one of those flowers or wearing something that makes you feel that beautiful is going to be your wake-up call, do it. Do it. Wear the pretty dresses and skirts that make you feel the high energy and the bounce. Put 110% into your class, your fitness class, the people that you are with. Give as much as you can in terms of your authentic self. Go back and reread these questions. I'm going to post them when I snap a picture of this, so you'll be able to see this reading. But there were some really good questions in here. The biggest one was, what role have you tended to play in most of your intimate relationships? You know, take stock of the roles and the tendencies and see what keeps coming up. where might there be points of reception? And what are those points telling you? Because the more authentic you can be, the easier it's going to be to live your best life. The easier it's going to be to accept that your wake-up call should be every single day. My heart goes out to that family. My thoughts are a little bit lost. And I haven't shared it, like I said, with very many people. I just thought I'd, go live on, go live. But I did get some energy out with Aquafit this morning. And, we're going to talk about, I'm not going to, I don't, we're going to talk about something that's not easy to talk about, but I'm going to go there for a minute. And again, there is nothing about today's episode that's meant to be morbid, but I'm going to put you in this visualization. So again, close your eyes, put your feet on the floor, take a couple of deep breaths. Just let yourself come to the moment. Feel your heart, feel your fingers, wiggle your toes. Bring yourself completely in the moment with no thought in mind. Okay. You're walking through a meadow. What does it feel like on your feet? Are you wearing shoes? Probably, right? Because you don't know. So you've got your socks and your sneakers on, because we're at that age where we wear sneakers with everything and think it's cute. But it works. But now your calves are getting a little bit wet, right? Like you're feeling the tickle and the dampness, the condensation from the morning is on you. And that's okay. It's wet. How does it feel? What sensations come to mind? A little cool? Yeah. Yeah. A little wet? But what does wet feel like? That's what I was trying to think of. What does wet feel like? Let that sit for a sec. Okay, so it's cool, it's wet, but you don't really stop. You just notice it, right? You're still walking? Yeah, we're still walking step by step through the meadow. It's not very tall whatsoever. And you see something. What do you see? I know, it's so beautiful, right? The sun. I know. It's so beautiful through this meadow. Just stare at it for a second. Let it mesmerize you. I love the way the yellow shines. Feel your body sway into the moment. I want you to think about this. Fast forward. I want you to think about being on your deathbed right now. I want you to think about laying there as you stare at the sun. I want you to think about laying there on your deathbed. What surrounds you? Take a minute. Tell me through your mind what surrounds you. Like just lists of things out, like in your imagination of what surrounds you on your deathbed. What things do you see? What people do you see? Now gently look in the other direction. Is there anything that stands out? There's one thing, isn't there? You're holding your granddaughter's hand. She's asking you what you would do differently. What is it that you want to do differently? What do you wish that you had done differently? She's so curious, and you're sitting there thinking of all of these thoughts of what it is that you want to do differently. Pay attention to what's coming to mind. Pay attention to the colors. Pay attention to the sizes and the sounds. Notice the people and the objects and the colors, the stories. Tell your granddaughter all of the things that you wish that you had done. Your granddaughter, how did that happen? How did it happen that you have a granddaughter old enough to tell these stories to? Where did life go? Where did it all go? Were you your authentic self? How long did it take for you to have that wake-up call and finally live your best life? What stories are you telling your granddaughter on that day? What do you wish was different? I want you to take a couple deep breaths. Bring yourself back to center. Look at your granddaughter's eyes. She's you. She's a younger version of you, having a whole lifetime to live. What would you tell her to do? When would you tell her to start being her authentic self? Would you even have that conversation with her? Or would you hope she's naturally become who she's meant to be? This is your wake-up call. From this space, I want you to take a deep breath. Move your shoulders, move your fingers, move your toes. Do an exhale. Stretch it out. Again, move your wrists. Bring yourself back to center. Bring your belly button in. Curl up your shoulders. Come on up. One more breath in. Out. And come back and join us. Open your eyes when you are ready. How did it feel to connect with your younger self? How did it feel to tell her all of those things that you wish you had done when you thought you were talking to your granddaughter? This is your wake-up call. What's it going to take for you to show up and live your best life? Are you thinking that you can't right now because you have your story to live? Sure. But how long do you want to stay in that story? And while you're in that story, I guarantee you one thing, you are not being your authentic self. While you are in that story that you keep on repeating, that is preventing you from living your authentic life, is preventing you from living as your authentic self. You see, the more you live as your authentic self, the more aligned you are. The less you'll need a wake-up call because you're in alignment. Everybody else, this is your wake-up call. What is your wake-up call? If it's not a friend dying and suddenly you realize, whoa, what's going on? What needs to change in my life? If it's not death or the fear of death, what is it? What is going to be your wake-up call? What are you waiting for to wake up? I put together some points when I did the description of this, and they're all so true. They're all so true. So I loved how this card talked about your authentic self and marrying them together as your wake-up call. I am curious at this point, Marianne. Thank you. I see that you're watching. What questions do you have before I continue? I'm curious. What do you think your wake-up call would be? You know, some people are scared of never getting a wake-up call. Ever. Can you imagine? And then some people don't know if they've had a wake-up call, if it's real or if it's just fantasy. They have no idea. And how would we have any idea? You know, I think most of us have romanticized as to what this idea of a wake-up call should look like. And it is so different for everybody. So different. You know, we've seen movies and books that tell us it's an obvious sign that we will know. But it usually happens when the character is at their lowest point, only to have everything sorted out later. In that moment when the light shines on the character's face and the triumphant music and the dun, 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 you know, when that gets louder and louder, and a surprised and hopeful smile replaces a confused and almost devastated. Wake-up calls are portrayed as these moments that are just bound to happen in whatever journey you're on. But one thing is for sure, whatever it is, and whenever it does happen, it's going to change your life forever. Because you see, once you start walking on the path to success, you can't undo the action. You can't undo what you've learned. You don't unlearn the books that you read, right? It's layered learning, it's layered life, and it's going to change your life forever. And because of it, people are waiting for that darkness followed by prosperity moment to happen to them. They want to receive the message that it'll change everything in their lives and then more. And their cup will be overfilled and spilling over. But the chances are that they will have to keep waiting, maybe forever. But what if you never get the call, like the person in the movies, right? What if that never happens to you, or it's so subtle? There may already be signs. Here's the thing. No call, answer it anyway. There may already be signs in your life. You probably don't even notice them right now, which means you need to slow down. Deep down, you already feel like something needs to change. That's your sign. That's your wake-up call. You don't need divine reasoning. Your intuition is your best friend in life, not some unknown sign from the universe that might appear. I laugh because I'm writing down 888 right now because I saw that on a license plate coming back from the Aquafit class. I hesitated on going on. You know, take some space and listen to your intuition. And this is what I mean by slowing down. It'll give you the clarity to help you figure out what you want or what you need to do. You know, regardless of how you get your wake-up call, the real change is doing something about it. Choosing to answer a call instead of ignoring it is complicated because deep down you know that things need to change if you answer, and change is scary. But at the end of the day, the real reason that you think you're not getting your wake-up calls is probably because you're too scared to pay attention to them. That's huge. You know, when I think of that, I'm like, oh, that's that's huge. Am I just too scared? Was I just too scared before this for this to be my wake-up call? Right? Maybe this is your wake-up call. Maybe this particular session is your wake-up call. Maybe something today inspires you and encourages you to flip that shift, like to make that change. Maybe you don't want to wait for that scary diagnosis or for the invitation to show up in your life a certain way. One of the reasons we keep our lives so complicated, my friends, is that we don't listen to our inner intuition. We don't slow down and do what feels right when it feels right, being our authentic self. You know, how many times have you thought maybe this is your wake-up call? You know, for some people, and I'm going to list them before we sign off today, this is your wake-up call. If your life is on autopilot, this is your wake-up call. If you never put yourself first, this is your wake-up call. If you've become someone you don't recognize to please other people or to chase some version of success that doesn't resonate with you, this is your wake-up call. If you are constantly numbing out with food, shopping, booze, TV, or other distractions, this is your wake-up call. If you are worn down, beat up, stressed out, and completely deleted. Deleted. There's my head. Okay, I'm done. Depleted. This is your wake-up call. You know, getting your wake-up call, like we talked about, is not the hard part. Answering the call is. Choosing to answer the call instead of ignore it, that's what's hard. Because you know if you do, things are going to change, and change is scary. But that said, not changing is worse, especially after you know. Here's the thing. You are brave and you are strong enough to answer the call. Big change comes from hundreds of tiny steps, and they all matter. You don't have to have a perfect plan for the next 10 years or the next 10 days. All you need is an open heart and the next steps. Not all the steps, the next steps. Not a big step, the next step. You've got this. Let today be your wake-up call. Because I certainly don't want to be that story of somebody doing this about me. Me being an inspiration for somebody else's wake-up call because I've died early and I've left a family. I don't want that to be my story. I want to be memorable in a way that when people talk at my eulogy, they only have amazing things to say. I know. How's that? there's my magic wand that I've inspired, and I was positive and energetic and happy and resilient and tenacious and authentic and happy and joyful and in love with life. Yeah. All right, my friends, think about that. Have yourself an amazing week. I will post these cards, and I am sending you so much love and joy. Mwah.